Cleveland Elementary School in Elkhart, Indiana, as well as children at Lincoln Elementary School in LaPorte, Indiana. My name is Marilyn Agee, and I live in Panama City, Florida. Now let me tell you about how I'm connected to your school and why I am talking with you today. The how is that at Cleveland Elementary, Mrs. Law, who teaches 3rd grade, is my daughter. And her best friend, with whom she went to college and was her roommate, is Mrs. Otwanowski, who teaches 4th grade at Lincoln Elementary. The why I am talking to you is that I am going to talk with you about a school-wide service project that you will have the opportunity to participate in. A service project is very special and very important. It's when a group of people gather together to help others. Perhaps you've heard that there was a big hurricane that came through Florida on October 10th, actually a little more than a month ago. And this hurricane was called Hurricane Michael and came right through Panama City. Panama City is a very special place to both of your teachers, Mrs. Law and Mrs. Otwanowski. They've both been here, Mrs. Law many times. Mrs. Otwanowski was here a year ago and spent a week with us. And they really wanted to help when they found out how much damage Hurricane Michael has done here. It was damaged here by the hurricane in a couple of ways. One, thousands and thousands of trees were blown over by the wind, and they blew over onto rooftops of houses. They blew over into buildings, businesses. They blew over into all the electrical wires and into the streets so that people couldn't even get anywhere, hardly if they wanted to. And then on top of that, there was the giant winds that come along with a hurricane. And the winds blew things over and blew fronts off of buildings and just did a lot of damage. Well, along with that damage came the fact that our schools were closed, our businesses were closed, no one could get what they needed part of the time. That has changed somewhat, thank goodness, but there are still a lot of needs here in our area. And you know, thousands of children here were affected in many ways. Now, perhaps you can tell I am at a school. I am at Oakland Terrace Elementary here in Panama City, and I would like to introduce you to Oakland Terrace's principal, Mr. Brian Long. And Mr. Long will share with you, I'm glad to be here this morning, Mr. Long. He will share with you the ways in which his students were affected here at Oakland Terrace in Panama City.
Yes, our school, there was kind of moderate damage to our school. We got pretty lucky. They ranked things on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most severe. So our school was only about a 3. We had trees fall down into buildings. We were, of course, without power. They had to rip out parts of walls where water came rushing in under doors. We were very lucky here at school. However, the neighborhoods surrounding our school where our families live were absolutely devastated. As she was mentioning, roofs collapsed, trees on roofs, buildings blown over, and that's the housing that the families that our school serves lived in. So, although we were lucky here at school, many of the families and neighborhoods around our school were not as lucky.
Thank you, Mr. Long. One of the things I know is that many of the children lost almost everything, which included school supplies, their clothing, household needs, all of those sorts of things were gone, and families are without. Well, I also know that a lot of help has arrived early, but many people think about Florida as being summer all the time. And so a lot of the clothing that was received for children and brought in with summer clothing. Well, in the southern part of Florida, it is summer all the time. But we live up in the northern part in what's called the Panhandle. I'm sure your teacher will show you on the map exactly where Panama City is. And we do have winter here. Well, not winter like you know it, not ice and snow, but it does get cold. And the wind off the ocean and the large bays that are here make it extra cold for our students. And knowing they lost everything means they have no clothing for cold weather. They have some specific needs, and that's one of the ways that you can help as you're a part of Hurricane Michael, Kids Helping Kids. The children here need long pants, sweatpants, sweaters, sweatshirts, socks, and they can use them in all sizes. Here at Oakland Terrace, the grades are kindergarten through
Fifth grade.
Yes,
ma'am.
And so there are all sizes, as you know, kindergarten through 5th grade. So one of the ways you can help is by going home and looking through your closets with your parents and looking for clothes that no longer fit you or any of your brothers and sisters, that are still very wearable, that don't have big stains, that don't have holes in them, but still are nice looking clothes that can be shared. That would be wonderful. Also, blankets will be a big need because households literally lost everything. There are no blankets in a lot of the homes, and it's going to be getting chilly very soon here. Thank you, Mr. Long, for letting us know what some of the needs are here. How about school supplies? Have those needs been addressed? Do they have the supplies they need?
Yes, ma'am. We have partnered with several community organizations, as well as we've had some teachers reach out to friends and businesses. So things like pencils and paper have been taken care of, and they're still coming in. But as you mentioned, things like clothes, jackets, hoodies, sweatshirts are definitely going to be of need here starting soon, as the weather is starting to drop into the low 50s, 40s, 30s, which for you guys might not be much, but here in Florida, where they're used to wearing flip-flops and shorts all the time, that's extremely cold for us.
And Mr. Long really understands this difference between Indiana and Florida because he grew up in Indiana, only a couple hours away from where you all are living.
That's right.
So he also says it may not be Indiana, but it gets chilly. There's a second way you can help, and that is, you see the wristbands that we both have on. Green wristbands represent regrowth, rebirth, like spring is a green color. And it says Panama City Strong on these wristbands. You may make a money donation to get a wristband of your own, and the money that comes in from the wristbands will all come here to Oakland Terrace, because while we know what some of the needs are right now, there may be needs in the future that it would be helpful to have some money put aside for the rest of the year for situations that may come up. And your teachers will tell you more about the wristbands and what kind of donations, and actually they have the wristbands already so they can show them to you because I sent them to them. I want to thank you, Mr. Long, for being a part of helping. This will be a service to the students in Indiana to be a part of a service project, knowing what that is to help others who are in need.
I would just like to thank you for taking on this project, and to thank both elementary schools in Indiana for having a giving heart and reaching out and taking care of our students as if they were your own. So thank you from the bottom of my heart and from the bottom of our community's heart.
That was very special. In the next thing you will see are pictures that a friend of mine, who is Auntie Barb to Mrs. Law, took about 2 days after the hurricane. You heard Mr. Long's description of the school. We took pictures of what was happening around this school. We also took pictures of houses in the neighborhood so you can see what we've actually been describing for you. So perhaps you can share what you're looking at with others who will want to contribute to your school, which will make its way down here to Oakland Terrace as well. But there's one more way I can say that you can help, and that is if you all give Mrs. Law and Mrs. Otwanowski big hugs. And with that, Mr. Long and I are going to say bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you
and
very
thank
much.
you.